Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing some more shorter-term technical analysis because in today's video, we need to zoom on down here to the hourly chart and take a look at some things that have happened here over the last 24 hours because it's been a very strange day for Bitcoin. As you can see, around noon Eastern time yesterday, Bitcoin jumped from $8,800 all the way up here to over $9,000, insert meme here, before falling off the metaphorical cliff again and actually setting a new low. This is a pretty major development, guys, because we've been struggling over the last couple of weeks to try and figure out whether the bulls or the bears are the stronger ones, but now that Bitcoin has finally done something, we have some data to back up any technical analysis that we do. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's video, guys. We're going to dive deep into this and also have some news to cover because China is back at it again. China's state-run media, Bitcoin is blockchain's first success. This is a relatively big news story coming out of China, one that you guys are going to want to hear about. So if you guys do enjoy today's video, consider hitting that like button. It really helps out the channel when you do that, and I would be very appreciative if you did. And also, guys, if you're new here, consider subscribing. We do daily cryptocurrency content, and I try to live stream all the major moves in Bitcoin if I am in a place where I can do that. But without much further ado, guys, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. The first thing we need to discuss here is actually the strength of the bulls and the bears. And if you guys are in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy, then you will know this video right down here, gauging the strength of support and resistance and gauging the strength of the bulls and the bears. And these two videos from C22A are going to have a lot of pertinence to what we're discussing in today's video. If you're in C22A and you haven't watched those videos, you should. They're very good. And if you're not, there's actually still a $40 off coupon code active November 2019 if you're interested in learning. Nevertheless, we need to talk about the strength of the bulls and the bears today, and the reason for that is because we need to discern whether or not this rally that kicked off last month is going to be able to continue. And there's a problem here, guys. The problem is Bitcoin traded sideways for 2 weeks, which pretty much indicates that the bulls and the bears were at a deadlock. And the fact that even though we had a breakout of this very long-term consolidation pattern and we did not have a gigantic crash or a gigantic rally, it means that the bulls and the bears are still relatively evenly matched. Which, I'll be honest with you guys, actually makes a lot of sense because if we come over here to our stock to flow chart, you guys will notice Bitcoin's trading almost exactly where it ought to be. The stock to flow ratio is predicting about an $8,200 Bitcoin, and we're trading at $8,700. It's really not that surprising that Bitcoin has been hanging out in between $7,000 and $12,000 here over the last 6 months when stock to flow has been predicting that for quite some time. Nevertheless, I can confidently say now, after what's happened in the last 24 hours, that the bulls are a little bit weaker than the bears. The reason for that is quite simple. When Bitcoin breaks support, that is obviously a point in favor of the bears. But the bears get another point if the market trades sideways and tries to break what used to be support, which is now resistance, as we did right here. This is very important because Bitcoin tried to get back up above that support, and instead of breaking above it, Bitcoin rejected from it. That is obviously a bearish sign. Furthermore, guys, if we take our trend line and we extend it out here, Bitcoin was trying to get above that trend line as well and failed. So that is definitely a couple of points in favor of Team Bear. Now, on the other hand, I will point this out. Check this out. Guys, Bitcoin's got some RSI divergence going on the hourly chart, and the hourly chart is a very frequented shorter-term time frame, so this is very pertinent. As you can see down here, Bitcoin has a downtrend of support here on its chart and an uptrend of support down here on the RSI. That's very important because that is called classical bullish RSI divergence. I know it's a mouthful, but in short, that means good things for Bitcoin over the next couple of days. Furthermore, we are looking at a potential bullish cross here on the MACD over the next couple of hours. As you can see, it is starting to converge back on itself down here on the hourly chart. I do also want to point out that that RSI divergence I showed you also shows up on the 4-hourly chart, which sometimes when you want to really confirm whether or not RSI divergence is powerful or not, check to see if it shows up on multiple time frames. If it does, then it's definitely going to be important. And as you can see, we have our downtrending bottoms up here on the chart, and we have our uptrending bottoms down here on the RSI itself. One thing I will say is on the 4-hourly, instead of a bullish cross coming in, we have a bearish cross coming in. So keep that in mind, guys. And of course, guys, now that we've looked at a lot of oscillators, one of the last things we need to do is check out our moving averages, and we definitely have some things that we can read into them from here. 1, Bitcoin was trading in between the 100 and the 200. Now Bitcoin has fallen back below the 200. That's old news, but what is relatively new is that Bitcoin is garnering support on the 50. That's important because if we look back on the history of Bitcoin, Bitcoin has a pretty good tendency of having support on the 50 at the beginning of bull markets. I showed you that in yesterday's video, guys. As you can see, when Bitcoin started rallying here, it fell through the 50 briefly, as we did recently. Let me show you that. We fell below the 50 for quite some time here, but as we can also see back in previous years, Bitcoin would eventually get back up above the 50, test it as support for quite some time, and right around the time the halving was coming, Bitcoin started to boom again. So instead of Bitcoin being between the 100 and the 200 now, it is between the 50 and the 200, which, yeah, that's okay. So long as Bitcoin is above at least one of these moving averages, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Bitcoin trading all the way down to like $8,000 even, to be totally honest. I just don't want to see Bitcoin set a new lower low below $7,200. That would be bad for the long term. The rest of everything that we're talking about today in the next month month or two won't even be remembered. But it is important for the next couple of days, which is why we're discussing it. Anyway, one more thing to point out, guys, is that we have had a bearish cross here on the MACD. As you can see, 3 days ago, we had that cross bearish right around the time that Bitcoin broke to the downside. That's part of where this bearish price action is coming from, and it's something that you ought to be keeping an eye on. Anyway, guys, I can keep throwing technicals at you, but I think I've thrown enough to make a point here, and that is this. Bitcoin mooned. Bitcoin rallied 45% back over here. It moved into a triangle pattern, which in most cases would be a continuation pattern. 60 to 65% of the time, Bitcoin should have broken bullish out of that. Instead of breaking bullish, Bitcoin broke bearish. But keep in mind, Bitcoin didn't break very bearish. Bitcoin didn't fall all the way back down here to where it was at $7,300, which indicates that we were, in fact, oversold over here. I know I'm going quick. Watch the video twice if you need to. I promise this is important. Bitcoin didn't fall very far. In fact, we traded sideways for a few days, locked in where we were, had a rally, and then we fell just a little bit farther, which indicates to me that even though the bears are slightly stronger right now, that we've probably found a temporary bottom down here around $8,400 to $8,600. And guess what, guys? I've been holding out on you this whole video because there is actually a reason for us to be finding support where we are right now, and it would have to do with the Fibonacci. As you can see, the 61.8% fib level over at $8,500 is sitting right here. That is just below where we fell to earlier this morning, which does indicate that we have probably found, at least, like I said, a temporary bottom. Oh, and one more thing I didn't mention is that Bitcoin's being caught by the 200 daily EMA. You know, I can throw technicals at you all day, but there you go. That's one more that I wanted to show you. That's the 200 daily exponential moving average we're testing right now. Nevertheless, guys, like I said, in conclusion, Bitcoin is bearish, but it's not that bearish, and in fact, we may have put in a temporary bottom. This RSI divergence could allow Bitcoin to rally here over the next 24 to 48 hours, so keep a strong weather eye out for that. If Bitcoin starts to fall below $8,500, where that 61.8% Fibonacci level is, that is going to be significant, and we're probably looking at an $8,000 to $7,500 Bitcoin, so keep an eye out for that as well. Anyway, like I said, I do also want to talk about fundamentals, so let's cover this news story lightning fast, guys. The official Chinese state-run Xinhua news agency, I think I got that right. I almost butchered that as much as they butchered free speech over there, huh? Has published a report recognizing Bitcoin as the first successful application of blockchain technology. Published today, November 11th, the coverage is exceptional given China's abiding hardline stance against decentralized cryptocurrencies as epitomized by Beijing's historic September 2017 blanket ban on crypto exchanges and ICOs. I remember when that happened because I was a little baby cryptocurrency investor. I've been in the space for 2 months, and that was one of the news stories that caused Bitcoin to pull back from $5,000 to $3,000. It's pretty funny because it seemed like China was banning Bitcoin every other day. Nevertheless, the Xinhua article is broadly positive and detailed in its coverage of Bitcoin and the history of its development and evolution. This is not the first time this has happened, mind you guys. Bitcoin has actually made several appearances in Chinese state-run media over the last 6 months or so because they seem to be warming up to it. I think China, and especially Xi Jinping, are starting to understand that even though Bitcoin is a threat to their hegemony and their authoritarian government, that if it can be utilized by them rather than utilized by those forces in China that are working against them and for the freedom of the Chinese people, if the Chinese government instead can be the ones that utilizing Bitcoin, then they will be the ones that wield the power of it rather than potential revolutionaries in the future like the Hong Kongers and what's going on over there right now. So this is a double-edged sword. It could be good for Bitcoin. The second largest economy getting on the side of Bitcoin could be a good thing for the price action, but whether or not it's a good thing for the actual future of the cryptocurrency, that's yet to be seen. Nevertheless, guys, I'm definitely going to keep you up to date on what China is doing with Bitcoin. It is a very important news story and definitely could impact the future of Bitcoin depending on how the Chinese government decides to play with this fire that it's holding, which is Bitcoin. Nevertheless, guys, I hope you learned something in today's video. There's 3 things I try to cover in every video, and that's news/fundamentals, that's technicals and analysis, and that is teaching. Hopefully, I covered all 3 of those bases today. Tell me if I did in the comment section down below. And if you guys are interested, the Discord server link is down below as well. I'd love for you to join us so we can continue the conversation over there. And if you guys want to continue learning about technical analysis, like I said, there is currently a sale running. November 2019 will give you $40 off at checkout on the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. If you'd like to learn how to do technical analysis the right way and make sure you're doing it the right way and make sure you're actually in a profitable mindset, guys, there's 34 videos in this academy, 10 hours of content. Next week, you could be caught up to speed on things that took me a year or 2 to learn. I mean, it takes a long time when you're trying to teach yourself this stuff. If you're interested, the link is in the description down below. And you can talk to some of our students in the Discord server if you would like. But anyway, guys, that is going to have to wrap it up for today's video. I do really want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching. As always, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.